Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of An Octave Higher. So if you don't already know, this is going to be the second Let's Play through this game because I am not satisfied with the ending that I received. And that, I hope, would have been incredibly apparent with the ending that I got because I pretty much threw a temper tantrum like a little 3-year-old child. And no, I am not ashamed. I fully embrace it because I was pretty pissed. I was admittedly very angry. So basically, right now what we're doing is getting through all of the introductory stuff because that's basically what we're stuck with for the time being, and it can take a bit of a long time-ish. I really don't remember exactly how long it took me to get through the first bit of it when it came to introductory stuff and actually like getting into the story, mainly because like it kind of all meshed together for me in a sense because I really couldn't tell much of a difference between the introductory and the story because it was pretty much all the same because it was so smooth for the transition of it, which I have to give the developers props for because damn, that was good. But yeah, I can't verify exactly how long it's going to take me to get through to the part where you actually make choices and stuff. So if you just want to like cruise through the video a little bit, see if I'm still doing introductory stuff or not, that's fine by me. If you want to just skip that, because personally, as a viewer, I totally would, because if you already know how it starts, you don't really need a review. But if you just want to go through it with me as per usual, then go right ahead. I'm all for it. So yeah, let's get this party started. I must have been walking for more than an hour now, but no matter how far I've gone, I still can't calm down. My fingers ache from being clenched into fists for so long. My palms stink from where my nails have dug into them. Relax, Frederick, relax. It was just a stupid sorcerer match. It wasn't a regulation match. You technically won. The only thing that's bothering you is that your father didn't see it as a victory the way that the rest of the whole city did. It doesn't matter what he thinks. Well, the only reason that the entire city thought that it was a victory was once again because that has rules. And your father is trying to teach you that battles don't have rules, which is why he made you face an opponent so much stronger than you, so that you'd realize that you're really weak in comparison and could, like, fix yourself a little bit, like, you know, improve, maybe be better at what you do, maybe stop relying on a magic type that you actually are incredibly weak in and just focus on your strengths for the time being and then work on the stuff that you're weak at. Like, that's what makes sense to me. Like, but then again, like, you're in school, you live at home, you're completely ignorant about the rest of the world, so not to mention you're rich, which makes you even more ignorant in this kind of scenario with how the story is and how the world has been established. So, yeah, like, I really don't have any sympathy for Frederick when he's like this as a character because, no, I'm a full-grown woman who is going to be turning 20 if, well, actually, I'm going to be 20 by the time this video is released anyway, but I'm a 20-year-old woman who's been living on her own for like 3 years, going on, what, 4? Something like that? Something like that, yeah. And, like, I'm in college, and, like, I've had a lot of life experiences within that amount of time in order to prove that when you are 16 and you think you know everything about the world, you really fucking don't. Like, you just don't, okay? Like, you don't. And the sooner you accept that, and the sooner you open your eyes to that, the better. Just trust me on that. Right, it doesn't matter. It really does matter. I'm still the best sorcerer there is. I'm the highest ranked player in a generation. I faced off against a trained soldier, and won, by the way. If Father could have just held his tongue, I don't mind advice, but to call it a loss of all things? It was just a stupid sorcerer match. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not. Like hell it doesn't! Yeah, see? The feeling that you have to suppress, but you're not actually going to suppress it, that means it does matter. That means it does. Your instinct knows. Your conscious, it knows. I am going to bury that whore next time. Janice Wolfe, mark my words, woman, I will remember you. I will not forget this insult. Humiliation for you, not for me. And that meteor spell. Of course I would have flattened her with meteor if I could have ever studied the technique, but that it weren't banned by regulation. Rules, woman, it was a sorcerer match. What was a commander of a goddamn special forces unit doing in a sorcerer match? Father did this to spite me, I know it. I thought I would make him happy by performing for his birthday celebration, but apparently he only wanted to humiliate me for his own entertainment. The pavement under my feet is sticky, the ball of light above that pole glares too much, the sound of music coming out of the cafe across the street is off-key, that omnibus pulled up to the stop too steeply, and that conservatoire student getting on the omnibus looks like a blithering idiot! What the hell is with all these damn people pissing me off? I just keep going wherever my feet take me. Occasionally people stare at me, but I manage to ignore them. What have they ever seen What, have they never seen a lord before? But I stop. Something occurs to me. I try to take in my surroundings, but there's barely anything to take in. I'm practically standing on dirt. The ground grinds beneath my feet. I can feel it when I walk. There are no balls of light that illuminate this alley. If it wasn't for the oil lamps hung widely apart on the wall, the area would be utterly dark. There are no flying carriages. There are no omnibuses. The street is silent. Only little murmurs from the people nearby can be faintly heard. The people around me are wearing clothes that aren't fit for modern civilization. I am not in Overture anymore. At least not the Overture that I know. Something feels wrong here. I should turn around and go back to the city, back to my father's mansion. But I don't turn back. Frederick Godwin doesn't turn back for anything. I start walking again, now more conscious of where I'm going. I am, after all, treading on foreign land. Wherever I walk, people's heads turn. No doubt they have never seen a lord before up close. A little boy tries to approach me, but his mother quickly stops him. They're both dressed in little more than rags. Finally, I understand what that feeling of wrongness was. It wasn't the filth or the darkness. It was something much more fundamental than that. There is no magic here. None of these people use magic. There are no magic machines in sight. What's going on here? I've never felt so out of place before. Look, it's an aristocrat. Though there are people murmuring all around, this comment was said loud enough for me to hear. It was intentional, and I stop and turn. Oh, right, I forgot. I made the same mistake as last time when I did this. It was a Libertad member who was just dying to piss him off. Cause a scene and all that like. Alright. The man who just spoke is dressed somewhat differently from the others. I wouldn't say he's dressed better than anyone else, but somehow he stands out. He's wearing a uniform of some kind. Another man in similar outfit stands beside him, watching me. The two men come nearer to me. The man speaks again. Hey kid, what are you doing in a place like this? Are you lost? I look down at the man. Who is he to question me? A gutsy bourgeois. Hasn't anyone told you not to wander around in proles areas? Haven't you ever heard of Libertad? They don't like poor bourgeois like you. Proles? Oh, I see, of course. So this is where the proletariat lives. No wonder there's no magic. It's not that they can't use magic, they just don't have the money to buy mana potions. Everyone knows that the proles are the dregs of society. But he mentioned something called Libertad. I've not heard of that group. He said Libertad hates people like me. Are you Libertad? This time they're the ones who stay quiet, but I can tell that the answer is yes. So they hate me? Well then, I'll hate them too. I start infusing willpower to the mana in my body and expel as much magical aura as the mana generates. All of a sudden, I'm the brightest thing on the street. Let that be a warning for them. The man who talked to me seems ready to fight, but the other Libertad member speaks to him in a low voice. What voice should I give him? I'm trying to incorporate more voice acting, but I can't do deep voices. Like, I've been trying to make my voice at a deeper register for my own personal reasons, because I know people tend to think I speak in a very high-pitched voice, and you know, looking back on some videos where I'm not really being mindful of it, then yeah, I do. But I'm trying to not do that. Like, I don't know, it's something that makes me uncomfortable. But yeah, man voices, not easy. Let me see, let me come up with something. Not here, there are too many people everywhere. Heeding his friend's words, the first man relaxes his posture, though his glare remains fierce. Understood. He walks away, clicking his tongue. The second man tries to stare me down for a second. His eyes seem to carry higher authority than the first man's, but then he too turns around and follows his friend. Guaranteed I'm not going to remember what voices I gave them later on, considering they don't pop up for some time after this, but who knows, maybe I'll remember. I remembered Professor Poe's voice after a time, I'm totally forgetting. Sorry, I'm drinking a lot of water because I'm kind of sniffly because I watched a Markiplier video and it got emotional and I was like, damn it, Marky, don't make me cry. But he made me cry, so. I watched the two of them head into an alley. Soon they're enveloped in the shadows of the close-packed buildings and I can't see them anymore. Ignoring the parole's increasingly audible whispers, I continue walking along the dimly lit street. Before my encounter with Libertad, the paroles were looking at me curiously. Now they turn their heads away or cast their eyes down whenever I walk near. They're trying to avoid the drama, I'm assuming, because even though there may be an organization of people who are very extremist in their ways, I wouldn't say that every person within that group of people that they would be associated with would agree with the way that they're going about things. Like, they may agree with what they're trying to get across, per se, like trying to fight for equality, for instance, which is what Libertad is trying to do, but with the extremist way that they're going about it, a lot of people would feel incredibly uncomfortable with it because then they would be looked even further down upon. Such as, let's say, the Muslims, for instance. When they bombed the Twin Towers in 9/11, the extremist group of them anyway, I totally forget the name off the top of my head right now. I'm not American, I'm Canadian, so I honestly can't remember these things. And that happened, like, when I was, like, 5, so I'm not really involved, in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, but it does bother me when people will look at a Muslim and be like, oh, you're just like the terrorists that bombed the Twin Towers, and it's like, no, they're not. Were they in that group physically as they were doing it? Were they physically and knowingly involved in that? Were they one of the suicide bombers? No. They're a completely normal person that just wanted to get away from all that, and what are you doing to them? You're throwing it back into their faces. Like, not every Muslim is like that. Like, I've seen quite a few Muslims come through my cash register, and they're the nicest people. And, like, I love their hijabs. They are just so gorgeous. And it's like, you know what? Why does everyone have to be so... Well, not everyone, but why does a lot of people have to be so mean to a group of people just because of something a small minority of them did? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Sure, it gets a lot of attention, but, you know, rationality should kick in somewhere and be like, hey, not everyone's like that in that group. Like, there's a group of people that's being targeted over something that like, not even most of them were involved in or wanted, even. But anyway, off of the serious topics. I tend to go on rambles when I get too involved. I try not to look at them either, keeping my eyes on the path ahead. I'm not afraid of anyone, but I also don't want to cause a scene needlessly. After a few blocks, I come across a narrow space between two buildings. It is only wide enough for one person to walk through, and it is almost completely black in there. However, there is light coming from the far end of the alley. With it comes the sound of people laughing and singing. I come closer and see an arrow-shaped sign pointing into the alley. It reads, Maison de Beauvoir. Since I don't see anything more interesting around, I enter the alley and look for this mason. Not only is the alley dark, it also stinks. It's hard to believe that there is a place like this in Overture, mere miles from where my family lives. I stumble over an old man sleeping in the alley. He is virtually cocooned in rags and trash and rattles off some bewildered moans as I walk over him. Sorry for the silence, but when I really think about this sentence, it just kind of makes me think. Like, wouldn't someone do the same thing to a homeless man if they were thinking like Frederick and were rich like Frederick? Or would they, I don't know, provide some sort of help? Because I know that one of my friends she is more wealthily inclined than me in the sense of she can afford a 2-bedroom apartment by herself, just barely. It's not great, but like, she definitely makes more than I do, mainly because she probably works more overtime hours, from my assumption, and like, she's always trying to help out somewhere. Like, she tries to raise awareness for suicide and depression, for instance, and she has helped homeless people on the street by, like, buying them meals and things like that. And it's just like, I don't know. I have to wonder what I would do, you know? Like, I haven't really come across a whole lot of homeless people, but I know that I tend to fall to the stereotype that all of them are dangerous, even though I know that they're not, because I have met homeless people who aren't dangerous at all. It's just, there's just that minority that gave them a bad name and a bad rep, because there are some of them who are dangerous, and it's just really sad, you know? Like, just because there is a small minority of a particular group that makes that group appear dangerous, doesn't mean that they all are and that we should all treat them like that. But at the same time, we're trying to be cautious of our own wellness, I guess, of our own what's the word I'm looking for? We're trying to be cautious of, like, our own well-being and making sure that we're gonna be okay and that we're not gonna get hurt and things like that. And it's a very tough line to walk. And I wish it wasn't, you know? Like, I really wish it wasn't. How anyone could sleep at as filthy place as here, I will never know. Yeah, because you come from a much better background than most. I cook in my pace. I didn't think the poor were quite so destitute. Yeah, because you see them from a completely different perspective because of the circumstances that you were born into. I could go on a rant about that too, but I'm trying to move this along, so... Outside the alley, I see a mansion that looks quite out of place amid the dirty and broken houses. There are signs of wear and tear, but it still looks luxurious in comparison. To my surprise, I see a group of gentlemen who obviously aren't proles entering the establishment. They might even be my fellow lords, judging from how they're dressed. Once they're at the front door, a scantily clad, middle-aged woman emerges from inside the mansion and greets them. Despite showing too much skin, the woman's dress is that of a lady. She talks with the gentlemen for a few seconds and gestures them inside. As she goes to follow them inside, however, she notices my presence. She approaches me with a seductive smile. I'm disgusted by it, to be honest. Makeup is caked on her face to hide her years, but even in the dim light of the courtyard, I can see she's old enough to be my mother. Why, hello there, young man. I welcome you to my home, the Maison de Beauvoir. Probably not the same voice I had her in the first time around. No surprise there, because I think she only speaks like a few times. This is your house? Oh, fuck. The air betrayed me, jeez. Oh, excuse me. Yes, and you may call me Madame Beauvoir. She says this with a flourish. I can't tell if it's a drunken flourish or one of those flourishes you have to practice at. I wanted to say nice to meet you, but it's only really nice if... She brings her lips close to my ears and lowers her voice to a whisper. You come inside. Okay, I just realized that could come in that sentence can be interpreted in two different ways, okay? One is an incredibly dirty-minded way, which is what I just realized now because I'm incredibly slow, which is like, well, doing the do and he does the he just kind of has a thing, and yeah, I don't think I need to explain it. And the other one is actually going into the mansion and, like, being involved in all that. So, yeah, I just kind of realized that second go around, these things I'm noticing now and really thinking about more than I was before, because I was just so amazed by what I was, like, being immersed into, and now it's like second look around and you're like, oh god, now I'm even more amazed because look at all these heavy topics that are being introduced. So, yeah, don't mind me. She pulls her face back after blowing softly into my ears. Gross. It makes my eyebrows twitch and my nose wrinkle. What is this place? What do you mean, darling? The woman is stunned for a moment, then she starts laughing. Are you for true? How did you get here, little boy? She stops laughing, stares at me sharply, and whispers again in her broken but not unpleasant accent, which I don't think I've ever nailed, by the way. You want to know what kind of place is my house, do you know? I don't answer her because I feel like she is mocking me. Besides, I'm starting to get an idea. It's where we turn little boys like you into a real man. She gestures at me with her shoulders and flashes a naughty smile. Some people might call it sexy. I wouldn't. So, do you want to come in? No, not interested. I try to leave, but the madame grabs my wrist. Oh no, you haven't even come in and seen the other girls! Don't worry, young lord. I have all kinds of girls in my mason. Some of them will suit your high taste, I promise. She's a very insistent saleswoman. I've got to admit that it is rather tempting to just go in and, look around. But no, after tonight I need to be more disciplined, not less. I'm not going to spend any time with these filthy whores. Besides, the gentlemen I saw earlier looked like they might be lords. If my father should hear about my being here, he would put me in a seminary. Seminary? Yeah, a seminary. In the neighboring kingdom in a heartbeat. No, now get your hands off me, woman! Well, that's too bad. But why don't you take this? She hands me a tiny piece of paper. So you can find your way back here someday. She saunters back to the door. Before going inside, she turns and blows me a kiss. I deign to wave back. The kiss was disgusting, to be honest. After she's gone, I just stand staring at the mason. The street outside is brightened by the light seeping out of Mason's windows and made lively by the sounds of women coming from inside. That could go two ways too! Oh god! Just noticed that! Just noticed that. Oh man, my mind is dirty today. There's laughing, shouting, moaning. The mason's address is scribbled on the paper the woman gave me. I won't ever come back here, but I put the paper inside my pocket anyway. This town can't afford to be even dirtier than it already is. So at least he's not a litter bug. But if you took the route that I took the first time around, he does end up coming back here, just, completely against his will. The sky is black now. The moon and the stars aren't visible from where I'm standing. There is only blackness. Strange enough, there is a certain grandness one can feel from the pure blackness. It looks majestic. The dark sky reminds me how late it is. It's time I went home. Just as I turn away to leave, however, my eyes fall on an angel. Elise! Our lovely, lovely, lovely Elise, who is innocent, and because she is just so innocent, she makes me laugh so much. Just so much. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the summoning poop scene, and I'm just... Oh my god, I was giggling along as I was editing that one, and it's just... Oh my god, I can't... I'm sorry. That's my favorite part out of the whole game. Like, if there's anything to take away from this game, it's that. At least for something, like, comedic, anyway. If you want something serious, there's all kinds of stuff in here. A very lovely girl strolls through this unseemingly street as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She smiles with an ease that makes her seem brighter than all the lights in Mason. Her delicate hand plays lightly with the small braid of hair running behind her right ear. Is this girl also a worker at Mason? Isn't she a little... young? Besides, she isn't dressed like a harlot. But there are no other reasons for a young girl to visit a place like this. Maybe she's just passing through? I keep watching the little angel, how she steps, how her arms swing so carefree, how her hair flutters as she walks, how her face glitters with an easy happiness even in this slum. See, and this is something else I've noticed. Like, I'm sorry, I'm totally breaking the fourth wall every 5 minutes, I'm sorry, but like, if she appears too young to be working at a whorehouse, why are you staring at her and being completely entranced by her? Like, if anything, don't you think you should be disgusted with yourself? Like, if she's too young to be in a whorehouse, she's too young for you to be infatuated with. I'm sorry. End of discussion. That's it. Like, with how I've been seeing girls dressed lately, especially, like, really young kids who really, like, their parents should know better, but their parents just let them kind of, like, do whatever, because, I don't know, parenting, it's so questionable, and, like, if I was a parent, I would just not let my child wear some of the stuff that's out there, because it's just, like, I have to be wary of the fact that there are going to be people that will potentially sexualize my child's body as they look at her. And that's stupid. Like, that's just disgusting. Like, I'm sorry. If Elise looks too young to be working in a whorehouse, you shouldn't be looking at her like that. And, like, I'm not gonna say that I don't look at people like that. Like, there are some people who I genuinely think are my age or around my age, and I'll look at them and be like, huh, well, alright, you look good. But, like, I won't, like, do anything or think anything bad, in a sense, like, anything dirty anyway, until, like, I know exactly what their age is, because it's, like, to me, that's gross. Like, I don't want anyone looking at me like that. At least, like, I don't think anyone really wants to picture anyone looking at them like that, really, unless, like, they're trying to be, like, flattered by it, I guess, but, like, I don't know, like, I feel like it's such a weird line to cross, but, like, if you are infatuated by somebody who is significantly younger than you and you know or you even assume, even like a little bit, that they are significantly younger than you should just stop right there. Just stop right there and just walk and just be gone and be like, nope. Because honestly, like, it's gross. It really is. I'm sorry. Like, it's just gross. It really is. She's beautiful. No, it's more than that. I've beheld beauty itself. Finally, she stops right at Mason's door. Without knocking, she takes the door's handle, pushes the door open, and steps inside. I'm home. I announce that in a very, very small voice. Saying I'm home is a habit I've had since I was a little kid, but I don't really like saying it in this particular house. Help me! A young woman runs across the lobby screaming. She's naked. I'm gonna get ya! And then a man twice her age runs after her. He's naked too, of course. I don't know what kind of role-playing they're doing today. I won't be asking. Oh, Elise, you're back. How was your work? I turn to see the woman who called my name. It's Madame Beauvoir. When it's question marks, you don't know, so I'm gonna let that one slide. Oh, you know, same as usual. That sounds like my day. Business as usual. Yeah, I can see that. Unfortunately, naked old men chasing naked screaming girls is business as usual here at Mason. Madame Beauvoir gives me a smile and then prances over to attend a group of aristocrats. Madame Edith de Beauvoir is the owner of this brothel, but occasionally she still takes customers herself, especially if the customers are famous lords. Indeed, although she's already past 30, the madame is gorgeous. Her demeanor and her manner of speaking are also very elegant, like a lady in the house of a lord. Despite her age, she is the most expensive prostitute in Maison de Beauvoir. I owe my life to the madame. If she hadn't taken me in after I was abandoned by my parents, I don't know what kind of life I would be leading now. I probably wouldn't even be alive. I mean, sure, I would like to have a normal home, but at least here I can sleep under a roof instead of an alley somewhere. When she took me in, Madame also agreed not to make me work since I got a job at the factory. Well, until I turned 16, that is. Oh god, I just realized. She's 15. Why didn't I realize this sooner? Elise is 15. And, like, Frederick and Franz are, like, high schoolers. So, they'd be, like, 17 or 18? Dude! Frederick! Come on! She's, like, so underage! That's, like, illegal shit! What the hell is wrong with you? On my 16th birthday, she is going to make me serve my first customer, and she already has a list of high bidders. My birthday is in less than 3 months. With nothing else to do, I drag myself upstairs and waddle past a series of doors on my left. Each room is occupied at this hour. Each contains a customer and a girl. No matter how many times I hear the sounds from behind these doors, I cringe. I'll never be comfortable with it. A door opens in front of me. The young, naked, screaming woman from before comes out of the room. Now, though, she isn't naked and she isn't screaming. It's a nice change of pace for her.
Oh, hey, Elise.
Hi. Where did the man go?
Oh, we had to leave through the window because the Dementors were coming for him.
The who?
It's part of our role-play. Never mind.
I'm also wondering how she emerged from a room on the 2nd floor when I last saw her running across the lobby. But no, I won't ask. She leans on the wall, looking up at the ceiling. She mutters something with a sigh. She looks exhausted.
Sleeping with that geezer is one thing, but being chased around the house naked is really taking a toll on me. You have no idea how easy it is to slip on these floors if you're not wearing any shoes.
Why do you keep servicing him then? With her head still turned up, she glances at me and answers matter-of-factly.
Because his tip is better than his cook.
I look down and notice that her dress is torn. Blood is dripping from a small cut on her skin. Oh, you're bleeding!
Yeah, he got a little aggressive back there.
I bring my right hand to her wound. A small benefit of working at the factory is that I get to drink mana potions every day. Most of it is spent by the end of the work shift, but sometimes I get to go home with a little mana remaining in my body. Today is one of those days. I focus on compassion while my last bit of mana starts accumulating in my hand. Transform. There's a soft glow of light around her wound, and when it fades, there's no more cut, not even a scar.
Wow, thank you, Elise. Good thing you had some mana left today.
You're welcome. It didn't fix your torn dress, though.
Well, magic can't fix everything, can't it? Can it? Too bad, though. If magic could fix inanimate things, I could look like a princess even on my days off.
Well, she looks relieved to have been healed and doesn't seem too concerned about her dress, so I'm happy. Yeah, it would be nice, right? Compassion magic only works on people, plants, and animals. The gods know I've tried curing my laundry of sweat and dirt with a cure spell, but it never works.
But, oh, I wonder if your magic can restore my... you know?
She's giggling naughtily. What is she talking about? Your what?
Never mind. I think I should get to my next customer. Thanks, Elise.
She goes downstairs to greet a customer who has just entered the lobby. Again, I've probably mentioned this once before, but the thing that she is referencing, if you were old enough to even know what that is, which I'm assuming you do, considering how young they do sex ed classes nowadays, that's completely a myth. The hymen does not exist. It doesn't exist. And I'm not about to go on a huge thing about sex education because that would be weird, but it doesn't exist, okay? It's not a real thing. I head to my room. Soon I come upon a set of small stairs. They lead to the attic where I live. This attic is where I've been living since coming to Mason 6 years ago. It's hardly a palace, but, well, it has a bed at least. And compared to all the other rooms, it's relatively quiet and isolated. I collapse onto my bed. I should probably take a bath and change into a different set of clothes before sleeping, but right now I'm feeling very exhausted. I can still hear obscene sounds from below. Occasionally they are accompanied by by annoying high-pitched laughter from young women and incoherent slurs from drunk men. In less than 3 months, I will be joining the chorus of that annoying high-pitched laughter. I don't want to think about that right now. Right now, all I want to do is... Alright, so we've gotten through pretty much all of the introductory sort of stuff at the current moment, and we'll slowly be seeping into the story that is going to be presented later on throughout this game. So, yeah, despite all of my really interesting topics of conversation that I have decided to kind of reflect upon, I hope you have enjoyed this. Like, I know I tend to get pretty serious with some of the stuff that I will play, and I know a lot of YouTubers or gamers in general will just kind of like write it off and make a joke out of it, but when it comes to more serious games like this one, where they have more mature themes in them, I guess you could say, and like themes in them that are like worthy of being mentioned and talked about, which is probably why they made a game out of them with those ideas in mind, I like to kind of take a moment and just be like, you know what, it's something to think about, just to kind of bring some enlightenment somewhere. If that's not your style, that's cool. I'm pretty sure I've got some other ones around somewhere where it's mostly just jokes and trying to do a game properly, but failing miserably because of something complicated or something. I don't know, like, I don't really know what I tend to do for games. I just kind of play whatever, and then I just kind of see what happens. So, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this adventure, and that you will continue to enjoy this adventure if you decide to stick with it. So, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.